This week's game is going to be recreating Simon, and for those that aren't familiar with it, we'll go ahead, we'll open up this image. So Simon, you had this little round thing. I believe there's a couple different modes to Simon. We're just going to focus on the first one. And the way it worked was it would just start off, it would play a pattern and you had to replay it. So if the green light would light up, there'd be a sound, and then you'd have to go ahead and hit the green button. Then the next round would start and it'd be like green, red. Then you'd have to hit the green and the red, then it'd go green, red, red. And you'd have to follow the pattern. And it would just keep going until, well, you screwed up the pattern and you'd get your score, and then you could just start over again. So this week we're going to be doing a lot more scripting and using a lot less prefabs. So with that said, let's go ahead, open up Unity, and we'll start our project. Again, I'm just going to throw it on the desktop as it's just easier for me to manage it that way. And I'm just going to call it Simple Simon. And like I said, I'll throw it on the desktop. And I'm going to do it. You could do this in 2D as well, but we haven't covered 2D yet. We'll be doing 2D 2 projects from now. So I'm going to keep it 3D, and I don't really need analytics. I'm not going to be publishing this. This is just purely for educational use. So I'll go ahead and create that project with Unity, start everything up, and then we'll jump in. So when I'm approaching a game like this, I usually like to have some sort of physical representation of the game while in the game. So I'm going to open that image back up. And I want to be able to put this right in my game. So I don't have a way to really make the sphere. Well, it's actually, I could just use a capsule and squish it down. I just want some sort of physical representation with at least 4 buttons on it. And we are going to color code these buttons. So just to quickly start off, I'll go ahead and I'm just going to do mine. I'll just do cubes. When we get into 3D modeling, there's probably some on the asset store right now. But for me right now, I'm just going to use the cubes. So let's go ahead and just start scaling everything. I'm going to make it 2 on the Z and the X and 0.1. And this is going to be the base. And that's this black part. So I just need my 4 buttons now. So let me see. I want to make sure this is positioned right. Yeah, everything's dead center. So outside of it, I'm going to go ahead and create another cube, which should put it in the center. I'm actually just going to turn the lighting off right now. I think it's a little bit easier in YouTube videos to see. And let's go ahead and scale this down. So I'm going to go 0.5, and we'll want to move it, what? -1 will be too far. -0.5. That puts it right on the edge. And let's just do 0.5. We'll put it on the edge up there as well. Great. We could name this red button, yellow button. I'm not worried about keeping the order of the colors. I just want the functionality of the game. That's all I'm after here. It's not something I'm looking to publish. And to be quite honest, you probably couldn't anyway because of IP. I guess you could theme it and maybe switch it up a little bit and take the basic game concepts. Lord knows there's enough of them out there in real life. But I'm going to call this button. And I'm just going to duplicate it. And then move it over. Instead of being at -0.5, put it up positive. And I want a little bit of seam in between there. So I'm going to take my base. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Maybe 3 by 3. And then I take both buttons. 3 looks like it's too big actually. Well, let's just move the buttons. I'm going to do 0.75. Whoops. Went too far there. 0.75 by 0.75. That gives me about a half a unit in between. Take a quick look. That looks good enough. So I'm going to take both these buttons, duplicate them again, move them down to negative, so they move down this way here, the opposite direction of the blue arrow. And there we go. We have our 4 buttons. Now just to clean this up, I am going to go ahead and rename these later, the color of the button. But for now, I just don't want to have this many things in my scene. So I'm going to go ahead, create an empty, which I will call Simon. I'm just going to take them all and drag them underneath. There we go. Cleans it up a bit. All right. I'm going to come down to my assets folder, and right away, I know there's a few folders that I'm always going to use. For this particular one, I know I'm going to be doing a lot of scripting, but I want to spell it right. And I didn't actually want to make a script. I actually wanted to make a folder. There we go. So scripts. I know I want prefabs. And there's probably going to be a couple other folders, but I know I want these for sure. Now, The next thing I do is I take a look and go, okay, what functionality am I going to have to script? What behaviors do I need? Is there anything here that's a glaring call out for a prefab? And to be honest, we've got these 4 buttons, right? So we could go ahead and create a script for the buttons and more importantly, a prefab for the buttons. So I'm actually going to go ahead and create some of these scripts. I'm not going to actually fill them out. I just want to go ahead and create the actual files. The first one's button. And if we come to the game view, we got to change the camera view. We'll do that in just a second. I know I'm going to want to have a score as well. And we did this in last week's project, so that shouldn't be too hard for you. Let's go ahead and adjust that camera while I'm here. I just go ahead, put it at 0, rotate it. Come on. And we should just be able to do 90 degrees. That puts it right above. For some reason, my controls here are not working. That's okay. We'll just lift it up. We want to be able to see all 4. And let's go back to the scripts. This time around, we're going to have something called a game manager script. And this actually controls the overall flow of the game. Now, the first run through, we're going to have everything coupled together. We're going to have our game manager controlling the buttons themselves. But after we're done this here at the end of the week, we're going to learn about event systems. And I want to go ahead and after that day, you'll have the whole weekend to go ahead and implement an event system inside of this game so that we can completely decouple the buttons from the game master or manager, I should say. And if you're not sure exactly what an event system is, don't worry. We're going to cover it as soon as we're done the basic version of this game. Everything should be done this week in class time. So I'll create a new C# script. I'm going to call it Game Manager. And let's go ahead and create one more folder for materials, because we'll need a few of those as well. Great. So in the next video, let's go ahead and we'll take a look at this button, which we can go ahead and make that prefab for now. And we'll start working on that button script. And just before we go, let's go ahead and quickly save our scenes. Of course, want a folder for it. And I'm just going to call it game. There we go. We've got a scenes folder. Game is there. Perfect.